Have you ever been scrolling your feed and bam, an ad pops up that feels so perfect it's almost creepy? Or maybe you've walked into a store and just felt like, wow, this place gets me. Well, that's not magic, and it's definitely not an accident. It's a strategy. It's called customer-driven marketing. And right now, we're going to break down the exact playbook that companies use to win a little piece of real estate in your mind. Let's dive in.
It really all comes down to this one feeling, doesn't it? That sense that an ad was created just for you. That's the result of a really powerful strategy. It's all about cutting through the absolute chaos of marketing noise to connect with you on a personal level. Honestly, figuring this out is kind of the holy grail of marketing, because the brands that do it best, they're the ones that win. And this right here is the master plan. Think of this diagram as our roadmap for the next few minutes. We are going to decode this whole thing step by step to show you exactly how the world's best brands figure out who their customers are and then decide on the perfect way to serve them. Okay, but before we jump into the playbook itself, we have to understand the two fundamental questions that are right at the heart of it. I mean, if you get these right, everything else just clicks into place. But if you get them wrong, well, even the most amazing creative campaign is pretty much doomed from the start. And here they are. They look super simple, right? Who will we serve, and how will we serve them? But listen, the hard part isn't asking these questions. It's coming up with answers that are way clearer and way smarter than your competitors. This is the absolute starting line for any great marketing strategy. All right, let's get into it. Step 1 of the playbook, figuring out who to serve. This whole thing starts with a classic divide and conquer strategy. Because look, no single brand can be everything to everyone, right? So the very first step is to find your groups. So the official term for this is market segmentation. It's really just about taking a huge, messy, diverse market and slicing it up into smaller, much neater groups of people who share similar needs or habits. The whole point here is to be way more efficient and way more effective with your time and your money. So, how do marketers actually do this? How do they break up the market? Well, they mainly use 4 key approaches. Think of them like different lenses you can put on to look at a giant crowd and suddenly see all these distinct little groups start to emerge. Let's break them down. First up, we've got geographic. This one's the most straightforward. It's all about location, location, location. Are your customers in a specific country, a particular city, or maybe even just one neighborhood? A company that sells snowblowers, for example, probably isn't going to spend a lot of ad money in Miami. Simple as that. Next, you've got demographics. Now, this is probably the one you've heard of the most. It's all about those objective, measurable facts about people. Things like age, gender, income, job, stuff like that. So a luxury car brand isn't just targeting people who drive. No way. They're targeting people in a very specific income bracket and age range. But here's where it gets really interesting. We start to move beyond the who and the where and get into the why. Psychographics. This is all about the internal stuff, how people think, what their values are, their lifestyle. This is why a brand might target adventurous, eco-conscious hikers instead of just, men aged 25 to 40. It's so much deeper. And finally, there's behavioral segmentation. This isn't about who people are. It's about what they actually do. Think about it. A coffee shop might have a loyalty program to target its most frequent die-hard customers, but then run a get your first coffee free promo to attract people who've never been in before. It's all based on their actions. Okay, so you've done the work. You've divided the entire market into these neat little groups. That's awesome. But you can't go after all of them. It's just not possible. So now comes the really critical decision. You have to choose your target. This is where you place your bets. And that's what a target market is. It's simply the specific group, or maybe a couple of groups, that you've decided to pour all your energy into. And the key word there is decides. This is an active, strategic choice to serve these customers, and by extension, not others. Now, there are a few ways to go about this. You could try an undifferentiated approach. Think of a classic brand like Coca-Cola that basically targets everyone with the same message. Or you could be differentiated, like an airline that has totally separate offers for budget travelers, business flyers, and first-class vacationers. And finally, you could get really focused with a concentrated or niche strategy, where you go all in on winning a huge piece of a very small market, like a company that only makes gear for professional rock climbers. So, you've found your groups, you've picked your target, and now we've arrived at the final and maybe the most important step of all, winning the battle for their minds. This, my friends, is the art of positioning. Okay, so here's the classic textbook definition. Positioning isn't something you do to a product. It's something you do to the mind of your customer. It's all about owning a clear, unique, and desirable little spot in their brain that's totally different from your competitors. Right, let's just simplify that. Here's what it all boils down to. When a customer hears your brand name, what's the one word or idea you want to instantly pop into their head? Is it safety, luxury, good value, innovation? Whatever that is, that's your position. So, how does this all actually fit together? Well, it's super important to remember that these aren't just three separate tasks you check off a list. No, they form a single powerful strategy where each step builds directly on the one before it. And here we are, right back at our playbook. And now it all makes perfect sense. You start by dividing the whole market up, segmentation. Then you choose which slice of that pie you're going to go after, targeting. And finally, you make it crystal clear why you're the absolute best choice for that specific group, positioning. This three-step combo, this is the engine that builds pretty much every successful brand out there. So I'll just leave you with this question. Think about a brand you are absolutely loyal to, one you really, really love. Who did they target? What makes that group specific? And maybe most importantly, what's the one single idea they own inside your head? Because once you see this playbook, trust me, you are going to start seeing it everywhere.